For this module, we're going to talk about space, time, motion, movement, and sequence. And scroll down. And so there's a PowerPoint there for you to use for this lesson. Adding movement to your composition. This link talks about adding dynamic motion to compositions, meaning essentially that when you have a still image, how can you create movement? How can you keep it from being flat and static? And then we're going to add a component for time management. We're roughly close to the midpoint in this course. And at this point, we're going to start talking a little bit more about how to manage your time on projects. You all have done enough projects now that you have the experience that you can now attach this assignment to. And this is going to give you an opportunity to create a time management document. And, you know, just like in the beginning with anything, this is going to be, first, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. It does involve some math. But once you do it, and it will help you to not only learn how to manage your time, but by being able to estimate your time, you will do better in estimating how much to charge for your work. That is one of the things students always say, well, how do I know how much to charge for my work? And it's always a difficult question because you have to calculate how much work you're going to have to do before you do it. So at this point, you all have done enough work that you are going to be able to start to look at this and start documenting how much time it takes you to do something. So if you start documenting how long it takes you to do things, you get really good at estimating. And I used to have to do this when I was in industry. So this is not, you know, just something I'm throwing in there to be mean. It really is a very helpful skill because if you're going to turn design into a business, you need to make sure that you're charging your clients enough money so that you're not losing money, that you're actually making money on your projects. And this is applied algebra. You all have mostly seen algebra in theory, right? X plus Y over 2 equals, you know, question mark. And y, your variable for y is 3 and your variable for x is 4, and you plug it into the equation and it comes up with what the question mark is. Or, you know, you have some complex complicated thing and you're missing a variable and you solve for it. Well, how does that apply to real life? I'm going to show you. And this applies to real life. This is algebra. This is applied algebra. You are going to solve how much money do I need to charge for this project so that I make money, okay? And this is how you do it. And so there are 5 lecture videos there that you want to watch. Okay, and now you're going to do it, okay? So for the first assignment, you're going to create a time management document using the techniques that were defined in those lecture videos, okay? And you're going to create it, you're going to type it up, you're going to make it legible, you're going to make it nice and neat, and you're going to submit that as your assignment here. Okay. Then for Module 2, we're going to apply what we learned in the PowerPoint, where you are going to create a storyboard. And it's not in here because it's something new that I've come across. I learned from teaching animation that there are free online apps for storyboarding, and I'm going to actually upload them in here. And you can use them, okay? So you're going to create a storyboard to tell the story, The Mask of Red Death, down here, which is right here, in graphic novel format. All right. So the idea is to create something original by twisting it. All right. So we no longer fear the plague, which was written, you know, at the time that he wrote it. But, you know, we do have other things that we fear. AIDS, the police. And since I put all this together, COVID, right? So we have things that we now can replace the Red Death with to make this work and modernize it. And I like to do this a lot in my classes in the earlier levels because it shows you, a lot of people will do this. It shows you how to take a story that people have never heard of, and there's so many of them out there, and modernize it to tell it in a way that is now relatable, and it helps you create a story or tell a story without having to write one. Okay, so you can do this by hand, right? Because Calvin and Hobbes did, or you can do this electronically, um, and you can add in text either by hand or by computer. And so some of these are mixed, right? So that's all by hand. That's a mixture of by hand and by computer, and then that's completely done on the computer. And it's not even legible, but so yeah, there, like I said, there are online tutorials, and I'll go in and add them here. And then this is the story, and it's not too terribly long. Okay. All right. So have fun, and don't overdo it. Okay. So one of the things that you want to make sure when you're doing this storyboard for this assignment, it's pretty short, right? But you want to keep it to. I'm just going to use an animation analogy. Most of you all have seen some of the hand animated movies from Disney. And so for Sleeping Beauty, which is one of my absolute favorites, just beautiful in terms of the drawings. The senior animators would create what they called the keyframes, and they would create those frames. And then the junior animators would come in and they would fill in between with the frames that fell in between to be able to create the animation. And that was later became known as tweening. For this, you're creating just the keyframes. What are the keyframes? What is important to tell? Later on, as you're doing this for more complex projects, you're gonna want more. You're gonna want a lot more than this. But you see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells here, a few more there. You want to keep it on a page, and you want to do something like these. These are good examples of what to shoot for in turning your story. Because this is really maybe a couple of scenes. So you can break that story very easily into a single page. So don't try to put too much in here. You want to do a good job, but you also don't want to overdo it because then you won't get it finished. Okay, so I'll go back and add in those links. I'll put them down here to some of the software programs that I have found, and they're free and they're fun. And you can use those, and it makes it a whole lot easier to get this done. The goal for this is really to learn about telling a sequential story. It's very important when you're working on anything that is more than a single frame, or even sometimes when you are working on a single frame, you want to show time and motion in that single frame, and you can do that. So have fun with this, and let me know if you have any questions.